For sure, bro. I seen overholding. Overholding gets a lot of people. I feel like who don't understand compounding. Like I feel like when you grow up and you get this nonchalantly have one of your family members open you an investment account and you get to see like, oh, this is what it does in 10 years when you hold an investment account, you realize that you just need to take 20, 30% along the way, wait for
Right.
pullbacks. Like, and you're not going to get in when a company's up 300% in less than a week. Like, I'm sorry, I don't care. I don't care what they're selling. It could be Jesus selling wine on Nazareth Ave. If that thing goes up 300%, bro, in a week, I'm waiting for the cool down. Why not just wait for the cool down?
Bro, we're not live yet, right?
Yeah, no, we are.
We
We
are
are, but
live.
I didn't post on X. It's like there's like this weird phase where we're like half live, half not, but we just gotta roll with the punches.
It's all good, man. There's a lot of stuff to discuss, dude. Today is a big news day. What's the Twitter handle again?
Oh, I'm about to send you the link to the post. I got you.
I think it's money making money, right?
Yeah, but the E's is threes on Twitter. On X. On X, the E's is threes.
Type that in.
Yeah, we running this joint like Dumb Money Live TV though, because they don't be caring about none of that. I mean,
I
Dave
like
does.
that.
Dave is the video guy, right? So he cares about the editing. That's why they got that intro sequence. And yeah, I'm gonna get us an intro sequence. I'm gonna go on Fiverr and get us an intro sequence. But to be honest, I'm just trying to get the first 20 to 50 episodes so I can get a transcription done and turn it into PDFs and start selling. I want us to be authors. Like we gonna
So is
like
that
the
how it
podcast is
works?
gonna
You
be
have
an
to have
author.
like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, what was you saying? Is what how it works.
You have to have like a certain number of hours like before you can get transcriptions.
No, it's just that once we like I know after about 30 to 50 episodes we'll have enough transcriptions to make like book material, like to actually make a PDF, even if it's just a history PDF where it's just like the kind of like making a man, that would be funny if we would like instead of like a if we made like a fact check history book. Like a degen fact check history book.
That would be pretty cool.
What?
Let me just change the handle here and then we can get into it. Gotta rename myself. Shamelessly plug the Instagram handle there.
Of course.
But yeah, Cynthia had us hyped this morning, dude, when she was like, major announcement.
Yeah, I knew she was spicing it. I knew she was throwing some Cajun seasoning on that thing, bro.
The
This the third day, right?
announcement.
This the third day?
What is it?
This the third day of the administration, right?
I think it's technically the third full day. If you're counting 20th, then fourth day.
Alright,
But
cool.
like, really, it's the third day. I mean, the first day is just ceremonies, procedures.
Alright, we're gonna
Like,
call it the fourth.
we could call it the fourth day though, but like, yeah. So she hit us. Basically, for you guys don't know who are out there, can I share my screen too and pull this up?
Yeah, do your thing.
She is the senator from Wyoming. So she came out, I think, at like 9 or something EST. And she was like, oh, big announcement at 10 o'clock. So you see this fucking like pump. Let me get down to a smaller time frame here. You see this like initial pump here where we were kind of chilling at 101. People were starting to get bearish, and we just popped. We like popped out of nowhere, like 105, 106. So then 10 o'clock comes and goes.
So that was her tweet.
Realized,
That was her tweet. That was the catalyst.
Yeah, I'll pull up her tweet. So then 10 o'clock comes and goes, and everyone realizes, oh, she's the senator from Wyoming. She's on a different time zone. So then everyone starts to figure out, oh, okay, she's in Wyoming time. She's like just straight shit posting it. Here's the original tweets, right? Stay tuned for 10 a.m. Big things are coming. That's the first thing she says. Then she says, stay tuned for 10. And then this is what she posted. So basically, there's going to be a Senate banking subcommittee on digital assets. And I'll just read her little quote here. Digital assets are the future. And if the United States wants to remain a global leader in financial innovation, Congress needs to urgently pass bipartisan legislation establishing a comprehensive legal framework for digital assets and that strengthens the U.S. dollar with a strategic Bitcoin reserve. I am humbled my colleagues have placed their trust in me to chair this historic subcommittee, and I look forward to shepherding bipartisan legislation. Blah, 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 blah. So it's good that she's using this wording here of a strategic Bitcoin reserve. It's good that she is leading this subcommittee. I actually didn't know that she's like super OG and that she bought Bitcoin back in 2013, which is pretty crazy. Like on Wikipedia, it says she's like the first congressperson to own Bitcoin, which I mean, if
That's crazy.
she was buying it in 2013, that'll probably make her the first. So that was kind of the first big news today. That kind of woke the markets up because we were kind of just trading sideways here with some chop, headed back to 100K. And for a lot of people, 100K is kind of like the line in the sand, right? It's such a big psychological level that it's like, okay, if we go above this, if we hold above it, we're good. If we go below it, like probably a good chance we're going to dump back to 90, 95. So that's the first thing that happened. Then it's, the World Economic Forum today at Davos. So this is basically like the most powerful financial people in the world. Trump decided not to fly out there because, inauguration day was like a few minutes ago. So he joins them virtually and basically makes a statement that he's going to make, us not only the crypto capital of the world, but also the AI capital. So that's good, right? We got some momentum here. He freed Ross, which we can get into that later. That was like the first big thing.
Yeah, that was the first big thing. I was hype about that.
I was definitely hype. I want to save that for separate though, because I'm just in like flow state right now. So that was good, right? That we could talk about why that was important in a bit, but that is really big in a sense because it shows that Trump is keeping his word and is taking this crypto stuff serious. Then Loomis comes out. Then Trump makes the comments. Okay, here's where the meat and potatoes happen, and I'm glad we waited a little longer stream because this like just dropped. So Trump's been going crazy with the executive orders. He just dropped this maybe an hour. I want to say less than 2 hours ago. All right, executive order strengthening American leadership in digital financial technology. And for anyone who wants to view this stuff, you just go to whitehouse.gov, scroll down past this orange face, go to executive actions, and then it lists them all here. We can definitely save this for the back burner too, because he's declassifying the JFK files. So that's crazy. But if you basically run through the language here, like he's very against a CBDC, which is a central bank digital currency. And that's a good thing to ban that. We don't want CBDCs. He does seem like he's being pretty favorable towards stable coins, as long as they're stable coins in the dollar, which, like, for all intents and purposes, nobody's using a stable coin in the euro, right? Any big stable coin that you look at, it's always based in the dollar. So it seems like he's pro stable coin, but he's anti CBDC, which is a good thing. Now, the real kind of banger here, let me find the exact wording. So he doesn't say strategic Bitcoin reserve, which is a little disappointing. But what he does, I think he calls it a digital reserve. Let me find the exact exact wording. So what I think he's gonna do is basically make. I don't know if it'll specifically just be just Bitcoin or if it'll be everything else with it. But the big thing that he's hang on, I gotta stockpile. Okay. The working group shall evaluate the potential creation and maintenance of a national digital asset stockpile and propose criteria for establishing such a stockpile. Potentially, this is big too, potentially derived from cryptocurrencies lawfully seized by the federal government through its law enforcement action. So anyone that's like a Bitcoin maxi wants like a strategic Bitcoin reserve, right? Where it's just Bitcoin. He may do like a basket where there's Ethereum, XRP, maybe some Solana. He's obviously going to prioritize coins that are based in America. So I think what you're seeing now is a lot of bullishness around Sol, Solana, and Ripple, XRP. But what I like here is this second sentence where the reserve, or he's calling it a stockpile here, a national digital asset stockpile, could be derived from, crypto that the government has already taken. So we kind of got into this on our first stream where I was showing you this resource here called Arkham Intelligence. And basically, it gives you an overview of all the digital assets that the government owns. So this is just one wallet, where the feds have 69K Bitcoin, which is now over 7 billion. But if you zoom out to all the Bitcoin they have, I mean, all digital assets, it's over 21 billion. Just in Bitcoin alone, they almost have 200K Bitcoin. So the original proposal for this.
And this is all from, this current Bitcoin is all from seized assets from criminals?
Yeah, so it's not all from Silk Road. There was a lot from Bitfinex got hacked. I'm sure some of this is from FTX. I'm sure some of this is from Silk Road. I actually think they're giving some of the Bitfinex funds back, but it's from all over the place. It's way more than just Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin is definitely the biggest holding. I mean, it's essentially all Bitcoin. So it's 21 billion, 20.5 billion is in Bitcoin, but they do have some ETH. But why this number is important here, this 198K Bitcoin, is because the original proposal for the shorthand for it, we'll just call it the SBR, right? The Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. The original idea was to get 1 million Bitcoin. Okay, you can't just go out and buy 1 million Bitcoin, right? There will only ever be 21 million. I think today there's probably only 19 million, but the realistic number is way less than that, right? It's estimated anywhere from 4 to 8 million. Let's just call it in the middle. Around 6 million have been lost just from people dying, forgetting the password, losing their keys. I mean, think about what just happened in LA, right? If you didn't have a backup, you lost your home, everything burned down, there's a chance you could have lost everything. So the idea was to buy 200K a year for the next 5 years, and that's going to get to 1 million. So if we can just lock in this let's just call it 200K. It basically is 200K. If we could just get this kick started with 200K off the rip, this is going to eliminate the fears, that the government was going to sell this, because basically that big dump that happened, I mean, it feels like it was years ago at this point, but it was when this DB guy tweeted on Twitter, or X, sorry, and he was basically saying yo, the government's been approved to sell this Bitcoin. So everyone kind of freaked out in a panic and thought that, that was all going to get rocked. So there's been a lot of shit that's popped off. But I mean, like you said, man, we're on day 4 and we're making good progress here. I think everyone expected day 1 Trump to just come out. First word out of his mouth is going to be Bitcoin. I mean, he's the president of the free world, man. He's the most powerful guy in the world.
And he's already a billionaire.
exactly. But like, it's just not the first thing on his mind. I do think it's important to him, and I do think he's gonna get shit done. But like, Sleepy left him a mess to clean up, and like, it's just not gonna be his first priority. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not gonna happen in the first 4 days. I'm hopeful. I'm definitely cautiously optimistic because of everything that's transpired in the past few days. I think it could take a few months though. And my personal opinion is that the market might get a little impatient here and not want to wait a few months for this to happen. So it'll be interesting. My bad to go on like a rampage there, but a bunch of shit happened. I just wanted to cover that real quick at the top of the show.
No, you good because it's man, it's important to understand the news, and then it's important to try to think out what's the most logical next steps, right?
Facts.
So yeah, I think it's super important, and to really fully understand the news, you have to have a bit of history, and you have to understand how dominoes are falling. Um, I like seeing things. You know, I'm following Bitcoin news a lot, so I'm seeing when the Italian bank buys more Bitcoin. I'm seeing when the president of which country was that? I mean, first of all, he was supposed to have a talk with President Nayib. I know that went well, but I also feel like I just want to take time to think about not just the position of Trump, but think about the position of Trump's children.
Mm.
I think it's especially his sons. I think it's important to understand how much he resides in his children, how strong his family unit is. I think it's important to understand that without Barron and that assassination attempt, it wasn't just the assassination attempt, but Barron telling him to go on all these social media platforms because he's seeing what Kennedy does, right? Now Trump only listening to himself, and this is why man, you just got to give credit where credit is due, right? So yeah, you want to hold people accountable, but the sad part is you have to hold yourself accountable too. So you can't hop from. I'm noticing right when you look at the political arena, people just want to hop on blaming somebody else, but they don't want to take the accountability and ownership when they were completely wrong, or
Mm.
when they endorse someone, that was completely wrong, right? Like, it's funny. I mean, you got to be able to call out when you're wrong. But where I'm thinking like, what's the next step? I'm really trying to get my head wrapped around which son and the plan the Suns have with the Trump coin. I believe that there's a way bigger plan that we're not necessarily seeing and piecing together yet. I know the news. The markets are fickle though. The markets are so fickle, bro. They'll respond off of any they'll respond off of any negative thing, and then it's hit or miss on how they respond off positive things. It's such the psychology of humans for us to just see problems and complain about problems than to see solutions and be grateful for solutions, or be grateful for opportunities to create solutions. You see what I'm saying? So
That's really well said. Yeah.
that's kind of like my mindset when it comes to what's the next setup. Like, to me, I'm like, all right, cool. So what's the next setup now? What's the next play? Or are the plays really the same? And low key, the plays are really the same. But I'm thinking, I don't think Trump coin is going to be something that is like you trade. Like, I personally wouldn't trade it. I don't think. Maybe I would. Maybe I would put $100 to $1,000 in, right? But that's just for there's a thing called like ethical investing. So to me, it's just like ethics. Like, I'm gonna rock out with the guy who built the strongest administration of all time. I just got to.
Yeah. Personally, I don't think Trump gives a fuck about it at all. I don't think Trump fully understands it. I don't think he understands that in a day he created a top 25 coin. I think his sons are definitely more plugged in and understand it, but I do agree with you that it's going to have some some alternate use case. Like at a surface level, I think as a minimum, it'll act as like the crypto approval rating of Donald Trump. Like this is basically going to serve as like a barometer for if people are fucking with Trump or not. If you really want to go down the conspiracy rabbit hole, people are saying that this is a way to do like backdoor deals where Trump can basically like make other companies like use Trump coin, in exchange of like certain political favors or stuff. Now, I'm not saying that's true. I'm just, don't shoot the messenger, but I have heard that theory tossed around that it could be used for that.
Oh
But
yeah.
it is pretty impressive how well it's holding up. I mean, when you look at your average like Solana Ponzi, like it's only down. I know these are like crazy numbers, but you got to keep in mind we're in crypto world. It's only down 53%. Your average Solana Ponzi is gonna look like the Burj Khalifa essentially. It's gonna go down 90 plus.
Melania did that. Melania went down like that.
Let's take a look at the Burj Khalifa that Melania has created here. I mean,
but it's still yeah.
It's staggering, bro. Let me get a better time frame here so people can kind of see this. I mean, this thing.
What is that? What was that?
This rallied. Sorry, what'd you say?
12,000%. Am I reading that
This
right?
rallied 12,000%, and now it's down 80%. So, and if you look at Barron, like we could go down the whole family lineage here. We're not going to do that. We'll just go down the big ones. But when you look at what Barron did, I mean, this one was crazy. So,
all right, cool.
5,000.
At least they know. Barron's is interesting.
This shit's down 98%, bro. This shit went from, I mean, maybe this was like 2 cents down here, and this shit went above 40 cents. And look what it's trading at now. It's below a penny, bro. So, but
is Barron holding that one, or is that one of the? Is the whole family just under Trump and other people making these other coins? It sounds like there's other people making these coins.
To my knowledge, there's only 2 official ones. There's obviously Trump, and there's obviously Melania. All these other coins, to my knowledge, are not official. Like, what happens when a very successful meme coin launches on Solana, it becomes what's known as like a beta or derivatives play, where there will be hundreds of spin-offs that basically everyone gets so tilted and pissed. Oh, I missed Trump. I'm going to try to make it all on Melania. Fuck, I missed Melania. Let me buy Barron. Damn it, I missed a pump on Barron. Let me buy Eric Trump Jr. You know what I'm saying? So it just creates this like infinite derivative like beta play where people just keep making other knockoffs of it. So, but the like rabbit hole conspiracy theory is that like Barron himself launched this. So if you look on the right side, the Barron coin actually was launched on Pump Fun. I mean, the problem is there's literally been hundreds of these Barron tokens that have been launched. This is like the biggest one.
That's crazy.
Which has a market cap of 8.7 million, which, it's decent. It's decent for a Solana Ponzi, but I mean, Melania's still at 2.7 billion, but but that's the fully diluted cap, and Trump himself fully diluted cap is at 35 billion, but I mean realistically it's only 7 billion since Trump controls 80% of the supply.
Okay, makes sense.
But I think the biggest thing, man, was fucking me, man, like Ross getting free. This was a long time coming, dude. Like we haven't even touched on this, but for like the real OGs in the space, like people who have been here like over 10 years, they probably know who Ross is. For a lot of the new people, they probably don't. But basically, like Reader's Digest version, the first ever Bitcoin business was Silk Road, right? So before, I don't know if it was before or after the guy in Jacksonville bought fucking 2 pizzas at Papa John's for 10,000 Bitcoin, but somewhere around that time, this guy Ross Ulbricht creates a website called Silk Road, and Silk Road was a.
How old was he though when he did that?
He was fucking young, dude. I'll have to look it up, but he was, I mean, in his 20s. I would want to say early 20s. I mean, he's 40. He's been in jail 11 years, but
so
he made the site. He made the site obviously before he went to jail. So
he was in his 20s.
He was in mid to late 20s. So he was a young bull. But he basically made the first ever Bitcoin business, or at least successful Bitcoin business. So you could go on Silk Road anonymously and buy pretty much anything with Bitcoin. I believe the most 2 popular items on the website was, weed and Molly. But, there were legal items on there. You could buy books. You could buy paraphernalia, erotica shit. But what got him into trouble was they basically were trying to convict him on a murder for hire plot. I won't get into the full details of the case, but he never got convicted on that. The case was insanely corrupt. 2 federal agents ended up going to jail, getting locked up for over half a decade. And Ross was given a double life sentence plus 40 years. So double life with no parole. I forgot to say that. Double life with no parole plus 40 years. You could shoot someone in the head and you wouldn't get double life, no parole in 40 years. So they clearly just sent a message there, but this is big, man. For Trump to keep his word on this and to issue that pardon and get Ross out, it's crazy, man. It is insane to see this. I didn't really get to know his mom that much, but I did work with his mom briefly when I was down in Miami running the blockchain center down there. And she's the sweetest woman in the world. She came on a podcast with us, and it's just obviously it's important for the Bitcoin community. Obviously, it's a beautiful moment for Ross and his family. It's good that it shows Trump's keeping his word and he's taking this shit seriously. So it's huge, dude. I can't stress enough how important that is. That Ross is free.
It's funny how all the Rosses go to jail, man. But
what's the other Ross that went to jail?
What you mean, Ross? What you mean? Rick Ross.
True.
Rick Ross is he named himself after the drug lord.
Wasn't Rick Ross a parole officer though?
Yeah, Rick Ross the rapper, but not his rap name. He named himself after somebody who was a kingpin.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, he was a kingpin. But that was just supposed to be funny though. But I'm happy he out though. I'm happy he out. That's for sure. Free all that. But speaking of pardons, right?
Yeah.
Man. Let's talk about pardons. One, let's not let our foot off the gas on on acknowledging one of the biggest mistakes in the U.S. government's history, and that's having Joe Biden and his crack pipe smoking son in the White House, and all the tomfoolery they doing, thinking that people just gonna forget, as if we all are smoking crack. So it's just like we ain't all smoking crack. I'm sorry, Joe. That's your son. That ain't us. That ain't all of us. We can see he's pardoning everybody who's done some of the most criminalistic shit. Like, but not like directly to your face. That's what people don't understand. It's like I'm noticing that some people are quick to be upset about pardons dealing with the January 6th insurrection. And like I said in my like what I was talking about earlier in Chestnut Checkers, like we got to put this shit on the scale, family. Like anybody that's a white nationalist, they want to own their home and they want to see America great. They're not out here trying to bomb countries and say this country is this or this country is that. They want simple things in life. And they tell you right to your face. You see what I'm saying? So this is crazy. What's this? So oh my goodness. Ain't that a chart? That's a chart of charts, bro. That's a chart of charts. Oh my goodness. Bro. That is crazy.
So, I mean, you look
That
at
is
this and like
crazy, bro.
Truman was definitely going hard.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
because
that makes sense.
he dropped the atomic bomb though. He the motherfucker that dropped the atomic bomb.
It was World War II. I'm
Oh
sure
my
there were
goodness.
thousands of people that needed pardons.
Oh my goodness.
But you look at in like recent times, right? Like since we've been alive, I'm shocked at how little uh, Bush Jr., but Bush 2 has, given that was during 9/11. Clinton tried to do a little pump here. Obama, tried to basically go for the record here. Trump's isn't even that much, but yeah, sorry, what?
No, I'm just ad libbing and shit.
Dude, Biden's like off the fucking charts, man. This
Bro,
is crazy.
that is sad. This is sad laughter. This is laughter to cope. This is coping. This is coping mechanism laughter. No, keep the chart up. Keep the chart up. Keep the chart up while I ran about that. That chart was crazy. Keep the chart up. Yeah, because what the f, man? And I like green volume bars. It reminds me of Kwanzaa. But bro, you mean to tell me? See, this is why I like symbolism, bro. Because you mean to tell me that the person that tripled the amount of pardons as the president who was in World War II and released the atomic bomb is not a menace to human civilization? I don't know how you like numbers don't be lying, bro. numbers yo, bro, numbers don't be lying when they on the chart. When they just when they in the what do they call them? A poll. When it's in a poll, it's some kind of like some bullshit. But this is like concrete facts. This ain't no opinion. This is he pardoned damn near 8,000 people, and Truman pardoned 2,200. He 4x'd, bro. he 4x'd. He 4x'd the most dangerous time on the planet in pardons. Man, I beg
this
your
one
pardon.
says over 8,000. I'll have to look up the actual number, but
a lot. How many pardons he got? A lot. How many pardons he got? A lot.
Yo, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie.
Bro, he 21 savaged it, bro. He 21 savaged the pardons. God damn. God damn.
8,064, bro.
But man, no. But man, I'll have people in my family that think I'm crazy because I voted for Trump. I need you. This is something I gotta say to like, look, this future. This. You know, I go off in my rants to my grandkids, right? So this is something I gotta say to my grandkids. All right, you are the better version of us. If you critically think and you pray for your answers, and you think that you have the right answer, and it goes against what anybody who says in your family says, you have to be okay with that. That's a part of what makes you who you are. Keep doing what you got to do. Period. So let me get back. Let's get back to this guy who pardons 8,000 people. And it's funny, you know, because it's like, I get it. I get it. I get it. It's easier to justify yourself if you hang on to history that explains your current situation. I get it. But come on. Like, oh my goodness, if I got to hear another verse out of a book, out of a chapter, out of a sequence that's just constantly reminding us of pain and suffering. And honestly, it's just like the bigger picture here is crazy. The bigger picture here is this, family. This is the bigger picture. And this is something that the markets don't see, man. Mano, this is something that the markets don't see. You know why they don't see it, Mano?
Why is that?
Because a lot of the people that manage money and that have a lot of money, bro, they're cognitively dissonant to things that matter most. Now, honestly, they're just cognitively dissonant on the average human being's experience. That's why it's good to be able to go from super wealthy and super poor. That's why it's good to be able to see both. Because you have to understand where we are in human civilization. It's like people aren't, a lot of them don't get philosophical and spiritual, so they don't zoom out enough. But I mean, this is why I love Ray Dalio. This is why I love Ray Dalio, bro. Because Ray Dalio, he recently went on CNBC and he had an interview with someone in Dubai. I was watching, and he was going over the aspects that have to do with the way countries are governed and the way the people work with each other as factors that can create recessions and factors that change world powers and world orders. Ray Dalio is doing incredible things. Now, mind you, Ray, this is why I gotta remind my homies, like certain homies, certain fam out there, y'all gotta understand you have your whole lifetime to give back. Because Ray Dalio was quiet. He collected billions. He ain't tell nobody what he knew, He knew it all. He collected billions on calamities. On not just calamities, right? Because you have to be able to, in order to hedge the market, you have to be able to see opportunity during the depression, during the greatest amount of fear. You need to have the ability to see opportunity. And Ray Dalio was like this: the way the government's leaders actually get along and their ability to actually create and innovate technology will have a huge factor on whether they go into a recession or not. So this becomes so much more, this becomes so much bigger, right? Because then when you understand this, no one wants to be poor and broke. Some people just have been programmed to be very emotional, and then some people don't have the education. So when you put these two things together, which is like lack of education and then not training those like prefrontal cortexes to critically think, then you have like emotional, you just have you just don't have progress. You just have like spinning kind of in the same place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we on this time frame now where, man, America's spoken. So it kind of this is an incredible sign. Like Trump's saying spiritual things, you got to catch. Like he knows how to. One thing I appreciate about Trump and what's going on right now in the administration is that they hustlers. So if you don't have no street smarts, you don't really understand what's going on. If you don't have that's another thing that some of these analysts are missing. They don't have They don't have street smarts. They still call Trump crazy. So they obviously don't understand Trump. They obviously don't understand that his gift is being able to make a deal. They don't understand that's what drives them. They don't understand that in his quest, in his head, he wants to go down as the person who made the most deals and the best deals as possible. Period. Say what you want about the person's character. That's not the government. That's not what it's here for. I'm sorry. And unfortunately, you cannot talk about a person's character if you voted for a man who pardoned 8,000 people, 4 times more people than the person who had us in World War II bombing millions of people. Shut the fuck up and go read a book and understand what is going on. I'm sorry. I don't care, and I don't care who it is. Like y'all know how I am. Like, if any prophet came to me, and it sounded completely idiotic, I don't care if he turned water into tequila. I'm still gonna tell him, you should rethink that. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm working it out. I'm praying through it. It's not registering here. So guess what? You related to God. I look like you. We kind of related. I'm related to God. So I don't see this making sense here on this side, my family. I'm sorry. But we breathe the same air, right? We still got bones? Okay. Hair like wool? Yeah, got that too. Okay, so what? So, it's just funny, man. It's just funny. So what I see is like the underscore cards, right? Like we got these undercards that I'm trying to pay attention to. But at the end of the day, bro, the market's fickle. People sell off. You see money supply coming in. And I like to think, bro, sometimes I like to think a step, I'd like to think through the next step, right? So if crypto's volatile and Trump's talking about a Bitcoin reserve, Wyoming's talking about a Bitcoin reserve, other countries are starting to get more, like they're trying to buy more crypto. Michael Saylor has presentations basically telling Trump, we can be number one for the next million years if we just rug pull the whole gold market and just put everything in Bitcoin. Stop playing. They're gonna have to adjust. There's no way around it. We the ones. This is the United States of America. Like our USD strong.
Dollar's way too strong right now, bro. I need a DXY.
Way too strong. Look at that.
Well, this is cool, but DXY has been on a fucking relentless pump, bro, since fucking September. It went from fucking 100 all the way up to fucking 110. Basically a 10% pump. Finally, it's starting to fucking come down here. But
put it on the monthly. Put it on the monthly for a second, though. Because sometimes I like to take it all the way back for people. People gotta understand.
You gotta go all the way back, dog. Look how crazy this shit was in the 80s, bro.
So when was that? The 80s? Interesting.
85, bro. The DXY was at 165. Oh
but
my god.
But Dalio mentioned something important because he's the only man. Let me finish giving him his flowers though.
Yeah.
Because Ray Dalio is important for the macro of my thesis, like understanding how I'm looking at the whole market from a psychological standpoint, but like globally as well. He said we're starting to go through times that was like the 1930s again, right? So he sees a rebound. He does have Bitcoin, but he also does have gold. Now, mind you, I think Ray Dalio might be in his 80s now. So, OG. You know, he made his billions and waited till he was like 60 before he started giving back. And started basically, oh, he's 75.
75. He's old.
Yeah, he just starting to do the shake thing when he happy. At least Trump don't do the shake when he's excited. You know what I mean? Like the tremble, like it's like a little tremble. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with it.
I think psychedelics help with that too. But you know, Trump never taken any psychedelics as well. But you know,
Bro,
either way,
I'd be surprised if Trump would even pop a Zin, bro, after what happened to his brother.
that's facts.
Wait, so go back to that 30s comparison. I just have the Dow Jones up from the
So
30s,
I'm
and
trying to
it's
say, hold on, I gotta make sure I gotta make sure whether he said the 30s or the 80s. Let's bring it up. Have you
this
seen this?
30s
Have
is
you seen
pretty
this
tough.
interview yet? Have you seen this interview yet that I'm talking about? The Ray Dalio one.
I have not. No, I mean 80s looking real good on the charts, bro.
All right, let me
80s.
make sure he says something in the 19s. Let me make sure I grab the right one. All right, cool. So what is it? Economic Forbes. The major economic forces in 2025. This right here.
Mr. Dalio, thank
This thing's long, though.
you so much for making time to speak
Call
to the
me
national
Ray.
currency with Bitcoin at $100,000. What's your take on crypto?
Well-
Are you reassessing?
Not my view on cryptos remain pretty much the same, and I'll articulate it. First of all, I think that, and I own crypto. I own some Bitcoin. The question is the amount and how attractive it is relative to gold. Okay, I think that there's kind of the old man's gold and then the younger man's crypto. But the important thing, first of all, is to represent whether one or the other, and really ideally some of both, should be in the portfolio. Don't be so fanatical that you're just having one and not the other. And do worry about the value of money and what is your alternative money that can't be printed. Okay, so now when I look at gold and it's evolved over, I mean crypto, when it's evolved over time, there have been a few things. First of all, there's not the privacy element of crypto. Everybody can understand exactly what it is. You can tax it easily. So governments can easily tax it. It doesn't have the same element of that privacy. There's a saying that gold is the only asset you can own, that's not somebody else's liability, meaning you have to depend on somebody else. You can own it and so on. Gold has always been a reserve currency in all times. It's the third largest reserve currency. In other words, the largest is the dollar, second is the euro, third is gold, and fourth is the yen. So it's always the currency that's being gone to. Right now, we're seeing a lot of central banks acquire gold. That's not the same as crypto, because crypto's different that way, because still, who controls it? Is it controlled behind the scenes, or do you have possession of it? And so for those reasons, I prefer gold to crypto. But I think the important thing is the recognition of the issue of do you trust the governments? And I think that to trust the governments, that they won't print the money to make the debt service easier is not the best move. So I'm, sort of anti-debt assets like bonds and so on, and I prefer the others. But I would say that should just be a portion of the portfolio. I don't want to get carried away with that. I would say that if you look at it as a diversifier, I think particularly gold is something that if you look at how it behaves in relationship to inflation and also interest rates, it behaves in a way that's more understandable than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is more of a speculative element with this limited supply aspect to it. So, but if you look at that, it's an effective diversifier of the portfolio. If you take most other assets, stocks,
Yeah, see, it's not really. It's speculative, kind of, but not really. You know, it's more volatile, I would say, than speculative. But I guess they're like synonyms in this case, right? Because of gold is already being used for that. And especially you remember, this is January 4th. So this isn't updated. This isn't post Trump coin. post Trump coin basically tells us that Bitcoin will 100,000% be the new gold as far as like use case for monetary. If anything, I would be shorting the hell out of gold right now. Like I want to put in a big gold short. I'm not even gonna hold you. Because for me, from the macro, we have Trump, who's oh man, let's just talk about the strengths. Let's just talk about the strengths. He's worked with criminals. He's also had lawyers who was criminals that he used to create his empire. Um, you know, so while maintaining certain principles that his father passed down. So for me, how I'm looking at this is with this Trump coin, gold is no longer going to have that $45 trillion value. Michael Saylor went to the crypto ball. Trump's sons were at the crypto ball. Trump's son suggested that he goes on all the podcasts. Michael Saylor already goes on all the podcasts. We have to understand that Michael Saylor is right. I don't know I don't know how many more. I don't know what else he needs to do. Right? Like it's like he already did the greatest trick, but it's like people are like, oh no, he, he's a fake. No, he's a business magician who knows how to create financial instruments. And most people's IQ can never even fathom what it's like for an individual who knows how to create a financial instrument.
Mm. He basically found an infinite money glitch, bro.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of them in life though, because that's what the S&P 500 is naturally. Like the market is naturally an infinite money glitch, especially index funds. Once we have $10 million in an index fund, there's no way anyone in our family has to ever worry about money again. Especially if we have principles where we're frugal.
Frugal as fuck, boy. But
Bro, investing is
yeah.
already the infinite money glitch, bro. It's been that way since the Rothschilds created banking. Right? Because that's the only way to hedge against someone who controls all the printing of money is to invest in stocks. It's the ultimate hedge against the most corrupt system. Now, Bitcoin is incredible because now it allows everyone a fair shot to add to the marketplace. I get that. But the original creation of banking and credit, like it still has a strength.
In a world where the money can be infinitely created, it's backed by nothing. I mean, you could argue it's backed by the U.S. military. The only thing worth holding is assets, hard assets, where the supply cannot be manipulated. So the hardest asset ever created, that's Bitcoin, right? There are others. You can argue gold. The supply does inflate year over year. If you really want to get into the like conspiracy theory against gold, it's that there's trillions of dollars of gold in space, right? So the argument is once we're really able to ramp up interplanetary space exploration, gold kind of loses on that value merit because we could just mine trillions of dollars worth of it in space and it won't be as valuable. But I think that's why you see markets where they are. Real estate prices, stock prices, asset prices, the price of gold, the price of Bitcoin, the money is fundamentally meaningless. They have printed 80% of the money supply.
What do you mean by fundamentally meaningless? Do you mean like what do you mean? Like I don't understand that.
It's
it's associated.
It's nothing. It's just paper, Balan. It's
funny because when you chroma key it, it's invisible. It's funny because it's green, so it's literally
fuck, it won't show
so
up.
no, it literally goes invisible.
I think that just
it
explained
literally
my
turns
point.
to nothing. It literally turns.
That explains my point. I'm holding up a $20 bill, but it's fucking fake, Milan, so it doesn't even register on camera. It's
Bro, that's hilarious, bro.
It's funny how the universe works. Look, you need money to live, right? You can't just fucking.
Bro, but
have
it's a measure of your value at the same time, right? There's an element of it that's a measure of your value, but it's not just your value physically, it's your value mentally. Because it's not just it's more your value mentally than it is your value physically. Because when you mentally understand that this is a game, this is a system, this is a matrix, and then you understand how money works and how industries work and how balance sheets work and how finances work and how investing works and how savings works and how the cash flow concept works, you can use your money now and you can make the system work for you. And that's how they've been using the system for thousands of years. This is how assets get passed down. This is how there is a conglomerate of wealth based on family, because it really only takes one person to build the assets, and then once you set it in place with a trust and teach them the basics of financial literacy, like the bigger picture here, not like not race, gender, and religion. Race, gender, and religion are literally the things that's holding human civilization back as well. You know, I'll save that for my one-on-one, my solo rant. I'm gonna have to go in on those three, because they really separate us from our spirit and nature. These are the three things that over time that we have used to separate us, as if we are not all on this collective mission together, trying our best to get free and be happy.
That was deep. That was deep, bro.
Bro, but that's the truth of the matter. I'm trying to find Ray Dalio go off on what year though. I gotta find what year he said it.
That means you have to sell that debt,
Yeah, let it run.
so that somebody has to buy that debt. And when they want to buy that debt, they're buying it based on the return that they're going to get. And when there's a lot of debt relative to GDP, it's a difficult balancing act for central banks, because they don't want to they have to be careful to keep interest rates high enough that they're good for the creditor without being them so high that they're bad for the debtor. And that balancing act becomes progressively difficult. And what they do when they reach an imbalance is they print money. And so we've seen the creating of large debt and the printing of a lot of money causing an inflationary pressure, and that's the way the machine works. Okay, so now neither of the parties are really thinking about that balance and how to deal with that. There's a different philosophy. The Trump administration is more going to follow a policy very similar to the policy that existed in the right of center governments in the 30s. They're going to become protectionist. They're going to raise tariffs a lot. And that tariff will be taxes, essentially. It'll give income. So there's an element of income that's going to come from that. And then that protectionism is to try to build up the American industry, not just for an economic reason, but because there's a sense of self-sufficiency is needed in case we get into a war. And you're going to see that in chips. You're going to see that in electricity. You need power. You're going to see a plan, an industrial plan, not capitalism as we ordinarily think of it. We think of capitalism as a free market. And so if you want to buy something luxurious and you want to, no, this is much more top-down and directed. And then there'll be more in military spending and the like. And so we're going to deal with this imbalance. And that part of that is also the changing of the world order. We're no longer, the United States is taking care of the world order as it designed it, but it is instead taking care of itself, America first, in a world order in which then there's that conflict. So that's the nature of that beast. That's for that reason. I think that there's a supply-demand imbalance issue that not only will come from the new supply, but also the lack of desire of holding bonds, because there's a lot of debt which is held. And when you start to think, is that a good currency? Is that a good storehold of wealth? Increasingly, there's the risk that will be sold. And that's one of the reasons that you're seeing gold and you're seeing Bitcoin go up, because we're talking about what is an alternative money. A money is both a medium of exchange, but a storehold of wealth. And so now you're seeing more movement in that direction because it's precarious.
I want to pick up just a moment on the inflation element of what you said. There has been criticism that perhaps the Fed didn't move quickly enough to tackle inflation. What's your take on it? Are you confident that the Fed
handled it in the right way? There were two big stimulations. And the amount of checks that went out to people from the federal government. Again, remember, federal government can't print money. What they do is but they can distribute money. So what they do is they borrow money. So the Fed lent money to the central government that send out checks, and they sent out more than twice as much money as the negative impact from the COVID was. In other words, incomes were set back, but they sent out twice in two big waves. And of course, if you send out more money with buying power, then you create more prices going up. You create the inflation that we've experienced. And so I think people are paying attention not just to the word inflation, which is the rate of change, but looking at prices. And so if you look at the prices of everything, almost every place, depending where they are, they're up significantly, prices of most everything. And that's then was a political issue. So yes, I believe that they were, for two reasons, they were too stimulative. They were stimulative the first go around because of COVID, and maybe they would say, I didn't want to be stingy, I want to make sure we had more than enough. There was the second time around when the Democrats and Biden got elected, and they're talking about the redistribution of wealth, universal basic income. That was past the first go around, and there was another big wave of money. And that combination of that big wave and the printing of money produced the price changes we've seen.
You mentioned gold and cryptocurrency as assets, as people are feeling it's getting precarious. We see the rise, both gold prices, but also cryptocurrency. So you've also been quite skeptical of cryptocurrency with Bitcoin at $100,000.
My view on cryptos remain pretty much the same, and I'll articulate it. First of all, I think that, and I own crypto, I own some Bitcoin. The question is the amount and how attractive it is relative to gold, okay? I think that there's kind of the old man's gold and the younger man's. Important thing, first of all, is to represent whether one or the other. It is the nature of capitalism that capitalism, for those who are, I don't know, clever and work harder and compete, get to make more money. And so naturally, wealth gaps increase as a result of that system. That capitalistic system naturally produces that kind of outcome, okay? And that can then become an issue when there's the rich and the poor that has living standards and they feel is unfair. And of course, so yes, the capital markets have the capacity to create great wealth and create great inventiveness, and also to produce large wealth gaps that people start to feel are unfair. When you put those together with values gaps, big values gaps, then that's a toxic combination, particularly if you have a debt problem. So let's think about, for example, values gaps in the United States. You know, it's reflected in the MAGA versus the woke values gaps, by way of example. One side wants to defund the police. The other side wants to bring in law and order, okay? There are issues about raising children. I mean, one side, some people believe that a 10-year-old child should be able to decide what sex they are and have a sex change. And that could be carried through in school, saying we're going to have a policy consistent with that. Well, that's not compromisable to somebody else who would say, no way, I don't even want to be in that environment. So you're seeing both the wealth gaps and the values gaps then create, you know, an emotional, and compromise is not possible. You're not going to compromise, for example, the sexuality issue and so on. So now you have a win at all cost mentality. And so we are seeing that happen not only in the United States, of course it's happening in the United States, but if you look at France and you look at England and you look at Germany and Italy and Korea, both North and South Korea, and you're looking at Japan, it is the norm now, not the exception.
And how do you tackle it? What would you do?
I think that if people understand history and understand the choices, that as though they had actually gone through it, that would give them perspective. I think before wars, whether they're internal wars or external wars, you have anger and you have courage, and we are going to fight to external. So as they go through, they start off with, I'm brave, I'm going to win, and I'm going to, and they say, I never want to go through that hell again. And so I think if they had that kind of perspective, and then they think that it all comes down to how we are with each other. How we are with each other. In other words, okay, is it selfishness, peace, harmony, that, the elements of what makes a good place. You know, here we are in Abu Dhabi, okay? What are the elements? The elements of making a good place, and what are the elements of success? They're simple. Do you raise your children well so that they're well educated and they're civil with each other? Do you come out to an environment in which there's an environment of opportunity and you can be productive and be well with each other? And then you're out of a war, stay out of an international war, and so on. That creates a paradise. And then there are other benefits, like, do you earn more than you spend? Just basic things. If you earn more than you spend, and you stay out of the war, and you're good with each other, you create that environment, you have a paradise. So I think that people keeping in mind how they are with each other, and what kind of an environment they're going to be in to make those choices, I think that's of paramount importance.
It's interesting to hear you address this element of war and peace, but also a sense of complacency that people sometimes don't know how good they've got it till they lose it.
That's right. Isn't it amazing? You watch some place, and it's a paradise, and like that, it's destroyed, and there's so many people dying, And we're sitting aside from it, and we're watching it like news. Okay, and we're not relating. And then wait till it comes to your neighborhood.
You spoke about the UAE, so I'm going to shift gears and talk a little bit more about the UAE.
You
of
feel
course,
the same way I
one of
do.
the great ways that you frame things is through the power index, and then you're looking at the top 20 countries, and through GDP and the size of economies. But if you're assessing the UAE, how would you assess it when it comes to power and where it sits in this?
I'll just explain the power index to people, and then I'll answer your question. So I saw recently three big forces that led me to the five big forces that I saw repeat over and over again in a cyclical kind of way. Okay, what are those five big forces? The first force is the credit, debt, money, economy force. In other words, you give credit, you're giving buying power, but buying power, that credit produces debt. Debt means you have to pay it back. Then it becomes a cycle, and it becomes what the economic and market cycles are driven by. That's one force. Second force is the force of internal order and disorder, particularly internal conflict. Particularly when there are large wealth and values differences, that there become irreconcilable differences in which there's populism of the right or populism of the left, another extremism of the right and left, and they are irreconcilable forces that produce a conflict internally that's basically a type of war of one side to win over the other. The third force is the great power conflict of one country competing with another country. Classically, the rise of a great power to challenging an existing great power, and when you challenge the existing great power, you would challenge that power's rules, and that means you challenge the order. And so we're seeing that now as China and other countries are particularly rising to become competitive. And then what is the dominant power? The United States is no longer the single dominant power. And then I discovered fourth, acts of nature, droughts, floods, and pandemics have killed more people than wars and toppled more orders. So number four, certainly now, climate change. The costs of climate change, the impacts are very large. And then through all history, the biggest force, most powerful force in creating the evolution is man's learning, particularly of technologies, the invention of new technology and ways of operating. And certainly that's the case now with AI and other technology developments that are going to change how we're operating. So I watched these five forces move in cycles, in great cycles. What's happening now is very similar to the 1930 to 45 period, and that's the nature of the dynamic. So anything that we're going to want to talk about or anything that's important will fall under at least one of those categories. And so I think when we're sitting here today and we're thinking about the future, we have to think about those things.
And so if we start with the debt and credit and money economy force, if we take the first force, the U.S. and the debt to GDP that it is dealing with today, how can the next administration, how can any administration tackle that challenge?
Well, again, I'll start with the dynamics and then we'll deal with how to tackle it. One man's debts are another man's assets. And when debts rise quickly, that means you have to sell that debt so that somebody has to buy that debt. And when they want to buy that debt, they're buying it based on the return that they're going to get. And when there's a lot of debt relative to GDP, it's a difficult balancing act for central banks because they don't want to they have to be careful to keep interest rates high enough that they're good for the creditor without being them so high that they're bad for the debtor. And that balancing act becomes progressively difficult. And what they do when they reach an imbalance is they print money. And so we've seen the creating of large debt and the printing of a lot of money causing an inflationary pressure, and that's the way the machine works. Okay, so now neither of the parties are really thinking about that balance and how to deal with that. There's a different philosophy. The Trump administration is more going to follow a policy very similar to the policy that existed in the right of center governments in the 30s. They're going to become protectionist. They're going to raise tariffs a lot. And that tariff will be taxes, essentially. Will give income. So there's an element of income that's going to come from that. And then that protectionism is the...
Yeah, so he's talking about the income that's going to come in from his protectionism mindset. But I don't think he's playing into account. Man, so funny, man. I don't think he's playing into account his strength on being able to get the deal. Like, I think people are looking at tariffs and not looking at Trump's ability to get the deal, which is what he wants. So it doesn't even matter about what the tariffs are anymore. The tariffs are just a tool for him to get the deal that he wants. The deal that he wants is to get rid of debt, to strengthen the American dollar, and to get us on the energy, to get us right with our, really for the next 1,000 years, right? But he also, has a good heart though. Like, he doesn't want to see senseless death. He doesn't have any rumors of him paying for hits against anyone. Like, that's not necessarily him. I think he just likes to call people out on their shit sometimes. So, like, he's just like, yo, just treat me the same way you treated somebody else. I think that's his whole mindset now. But at the end of the day, the tariffs are just a tool. You see what I'm saying? So the next step the next step is understanding that we're about to have a resurgence. So thinking that we're about to go through a downtrend is not smart. Trump has executed on every deal he has wanted to put in since he was like 22. Like he hasn't failed on almost any deal he wanted to do. It might have looked at it from the outside because of the way debt is set up, and he was trying to use debt from other people, and but like he has three sons now. Like they're not losing. He's learned his lessons, and you can clearly tell he's learned his lessons. I knew he learned his lesson when he started closing deals on camera in Mar-a-Lago. That I mean, I really knew his lesson when he met with like man, you could just tell when he met with Kennedy and then Elon and then Joe Rogan. That's a huge sign. Like secrecy is a way to tell a villain immediately. Like right, so it's just like you can either be on the side of the villains or you can be on the side of the angels or the heroes. It's like who do you want to bet on? You see what I'm saying? Because the other end of the spectrum is um, agendas that have to do with warmongering and not being self-sufficient and relying on other people to do things. Like that's a clear like spiritual no-no. You know, like no one in since history has since humans have been around has respected anyone who wants someone else to do something for them and that can't rely on their themselves.
Mm.
That's never been done in history. Like that'll never. That's a spiritual no no. It doesn't matter if we're still using rocks to trade, or if we're trading tulips, or if we're trading cow shit. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we're trading. Like people aren't going to respect you if you expect someone to give you everything. If you harp on the past and you don't progress, no one will ever respect you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't even speak English. Like animals don't even respect it. You know what I mean? It's just like universal as hell.
It's a crazy way of looking at it, man. I definitely fuck with Dalio a lot. I really appreciate his worldview. It will be interesting to see what happens with the tariffs, but I really like the point you make there. Like, it's just Trump's bargaining chip to get shit done. Like, I never really thought of it that way, but that.
Yeah. So because we need to bring the jobs back, we need to make the robots. You know, he also talks about the energy grid and oil. See, that's the only thing I don't necessarily resonate, but it is what it is. Like, I don't know. I don't know how people are going to expect us to be able to stop using oil as leverage internationally when there's so much war going on internationally based on how other people are giving out resources. And oil is one of the major resources. So as much as I want to be like futuristic and say like we can use all hydrogen and nuclear and hydroelectricity, and we can use these other renewable resources. Our grids are so massive that still takes like a good 100 years at the very least to transfer over. It's not like software. You can't just build it and be done. It's like no, there's like there's billions of people on these infrastructures.
Yeah.
So we kind of gotta like step it. But I guess this is a great opportunity for me to go off on a couple questions that I had a couple friends in the social ask me, and one of them was asking me. I mean, honestly, I just want to put out there my trading thesis. So then I can like reference this live stream and make sure people watch it instead of me having to explain it every single time, right? So pretty much my trading thesis, and we're like at a minute 13, so cool, that's perfect. My trading thesis. So if you stayed for the first hour, you get some juice, you get some sauce, or if you just a lucky bastard and you just timed in right now, use a G. But either way, so my trading thesis is to trade America first. And as much as I want to say I'm small cap, but also like price range, right? Because trading options. So I consider TSLL a small cap, even though it's a double leveraged Tesla fund, because it's still trading at 20 something dollars. So to me, that's
Okay.
considered like a mid cap. So my goal is American-based companies, but really this is my overall thesis: American-based in AI, and I prioritize companies that have no debt and small cap companies that are software based, because software based companies have a greater likelihood of not getting into debt because they don't need a lot of resources to run the business. It's way less
Mm.
overhead. So it's just like a less overhead business, which means they can take in more profit as well as not need more debt, which correlates to companies diluting shares. So like that's my like thesis for right now. So that's the reason why, and I need a company whose business plan and products are have a moat, which means they have patents around technology in the robotics and AI space and the American First agenda. So I'm also looking for connections within the cabinet. So I'm like, are there connections to this company within the current administration? Right. So it's like I'm looking for that, and then I'm seeing, does the company's business plan actually fit multiple different industries? So is it AI? Is it, can it be robotics too? Is it vehicles too? Is it batteries too? Is it renewable energy too? Like what are the companies that are positioning in multiple industries, not just one industry? I don't want to be pigeonholed in one industry. And then I'm also kind of looking at companies that have Bitcoin and XRP and cryptocurrencies on their balance sheet. Like one of the
Mm.
smartest moves by one of the companies I'm invested in called Worksport was that, and you know, they did a 15% day, I think yesterday, 15 to 18% day from low to high. They didn't close there though. They closed at like 6%, but I took profits like any smart person would on a 10% or more run up shares share day. Right. So if you want to pull up WKSP for me, I'd appreciate it.
What's the ticker?
WKSP. So I mentioned this because like a month or so ago, their CEO. So I've liked this company for about 2.5 months now, right? And the reason why I like this company is because I've seen it do a 505% revenue increase from one quarter to the next quarter, and that intrigued me. So I went to go look more. I went to go study the CEO. Now, there's something crazy about the chart. The chart is crazy because it goes into another
Holy
company.
shit.
It's like another company. No, that used to be a different company though.
Yeah,
It's
they
such a
buy the
weird chart.
tickers, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They bought the ticker. They bought the ticker off a different company. So you can't really pay attention to too far back. You're not supposed to go that
Holy
far back.
shit! How high did this thing go,
Bro, you're not.
It's fucking up at like $60,000, bro. Holy shit!
Yeah, bro, I know. It's a chart of charts. It's a one of a kind jewel chart, bro. It's a one of a
I'm coming
kind
back
jewel
to Earth.
chart.
I'm coming back to Earth.
It's a one of a kind, bro. It's a one of a kind.
This
I'm not.
even this localized chart is crazy though, bro. Was this the current company when it went to $16?
I believe so. What is that? 2021 at 16?
This is 2021, yeah.
Yeah, company. So, but you know they had I think they had stalled on coming out with their hydrogen electricity heat pumps. They have hydrogen electric heat pumps that they're releasing in 18 days. They're doing a 20-day roll call for this release. They're having a conference, and it's going to be a huge virtual release in 18 days about this pump, about this heat pump. But they also make the solar panels that connect the pickup trucks, and they have like the battery banks that they just released as well. Yeah, the AL3s when they're ready. Yep. But what I noticed, two things I loved about the CEOs and my shares itself. And then around a couple of weeks ago, they put $5 million on it. Iconic move for a penny stock CEO. And then they got it. Somebody just evaluated them at $1.50, but they also have a $2 evaluation. I believe though, like when you look at long term, their target addressable market, and them being America first and getting that grant and the market hasn't even priced in their hydrogen heat pumps. The market is slow to react to this unless they priced it in all the way in the back, and then they didn't come out with the release. I'm not sure that far back. I'm not sure what was happening during that time in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
But I just know from a fundamental standpoint and a macro standpoint, and which kind of just happened in the news, like expected projections for the earnings reports, the numbers look great for this next earnings that's coming up in like a week or so. I'm excited about. But that's an example, right? But my favorite by far is BBAI. Like BBAI is the company I think that that I feel like everyone in their investment journey should be looking for that company that will 100x in their lifetime, and it should get them excited if they're able to get it within the first couple years of its existence. Like everyone in their lifetime gets a chance to catch an Apple, gets the chance to catch a Google, gets a chance to catch an Amazon, right? So that's what I think is going on with them, especially when you look at BBAI's volume as well. Oh my goodness, the volume looks incredible on the weekly and the monthly. But though, because they're in multiple different industries, the CEO used to be in the Trump administration as the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security, and they have patents. Both of these companies have patents. That's another reason why I like Worksport as well. The Worksport is balls deep in patents. But Big Bear AI also has patents, and they have patents on software that works incongruent to Palantir's Foundry. So Palantir already has an evaluation that's, I think, almost close to like 50 to 100x Big Bear AI's current Palantir play. But I think do they have a picture of the Pentagon?
Yeah, they got the Pentagon right on the About Me page.
Oh, About Us. Oh. That's a wonderful client. Right, you gotta.
But this has been pumping, bro.
Oh yeah. I've been in it since $1.50, $1.80.
This is bro.
Yeah, but when you look at Palantir and you look at what Palantir did last year, it's just like, is it really on the bender? Like, if you go look at Palantir's chart for last year, it's like, is it like really? Is it really on the bender? Is it?
This shit. 7, bro. That's crazy.
Crazy, right?
I'm always impressed when like a stock does like crypto
1 year
numbers.
Bro, look at what it did in a year. From
What 2020, are we in January right now?
Yeah, from January 2023 to look at that, dude.
Yeah, this is up fucking almost 500%. 444. That's crazy. Ay, brother.
Yeah, so I think we're about to see a similar run up. I think that's about to double Palantir the next year. It should give you like a NVIDIA second year, like a second year NVIDIA after it pumped Palantir.
Okay.
And I see this doing basically. I think Big Bear AI now is like grabbing NVIDIA at like $20.
So you said your Big Bear target is what, $20?
No, my Big Bear target is like 3 to 5 years, triple digit stock. I think it's one of those ones you take for a ride, and you just ride the highs and lows, and you just become a millionaire of taking profits and reinvesting when it goes down 10 to 15%. 10, 15,
and what about
20%.
What about Worksport? What's your target on that?
Oh, so Worksport, man. I see Worksport. Man, this one's a hard one. I definitely see $5 in 2 years. See $5 in 2 years at the rate minimum. But yeah, $5 in 2 years. It's hard. It's hard for me because I get it. They do the solar panels on the pickup trucks, but that's not. Unfortunately, that's not a big enough. You see what I'm saying? That's not a big enough market. instead of holding dollars sometimes. So sometimes I'll just swing the shares,
Mm.
right, and just sell to either buy more options or Tesla and Big Bear AI. My two big plays are I like, and then I like Mara. I think Mara is going to get its act together. I think Mara is a very good hedge. I don't want to say hedge, but I think Mara is a very big sleep going to get hit after all the other crypto, and I think the people who are going to make the money from squeezing people out of these meme coins are going to put them in Mara. And I can see a lot of like the boomers who own wealth diversifying into Mara,
Mm.
right? There was a little bit of news on Mara, and he was with I think Grant Cardone's brother, and he was talking
Gary?
on Gary Cardone. They got a video snippet at the crypto ball being all hugged up. So, if he gets Grant and if he gets the Cardones in his corner, man, that's access to a lot of millionaires and a lot of cult. I mean, they have a strong following.
Facts. I fucking hate Grant Cardone, but I love Gary Cardone.
Yeah, he had something up there with Gary. Was that his evil twin? Is Grant the evil twin or some shit?
Heavy, and I follow Gary. I like him.
Yeah, so I think they have the best CEO in the mining business. I don't think there's a CEO that is working better than Fred Till and their and the executives. Not even just the CEO, but just like the best team. The team is pretty phenomenal. So I think they're just going to get hit late, man. But I do feel like there's going to be a short squeeze of epic proportions though, because everybody wants to short these miners. They're shorting these miners to like so bad, bro. Like we already know Bitcoin is it. Like we already know it's coming for gold's market cap. But people still don't understand that the miners are just as important as the Bitcoin itself. It's like they're just like, oh, the Bitcoin's important. Like, but what about the motherfucker who just did the transaction for it?
Right.
What about the guy who's buying all the material and using all the energy to approve the transaction?
Yeah, I mean, even electrical cost is at 60, production cost 83K. Can't see the miner price. Even if, let's say, they're able to produce a Bitcoin at 90K, that's still a healthy. I mean, even let's say it's 95 or 100K, they're still in the green. You know what I'm saying? The miners, they do have to sell some Bitcoin to cover costs, but a lot of the time the miners will actually hold
Right, and he's
the
also
coins.
mining Casper too. He's not just mining Bitcoin. And then they made something called a slipstream, which basically allows you to put more transactions on an approved block. And some people, for some reason, like it got negative criticism on Twitter. It has negative criticism, but I'm like, they were saying it would because they say like a lot of the Bitcoin maximalists is saying like, oh, this is defeating the purpose of it being Bitcoin. If you're going to lease out blocks, transaction times for faster
And what is this
transactions.
called? I haven't even heard of this. I'll have to do some research on this.
It's called Slipstream.
Slipstream. Wow.
It's like Mara's. I think it's their secret weapon that makes them different from every other miner. Not to mention, like they have more, like acreage and more machines and the greatest exahash. Not to mention all these other important things for the industry of Bitcoin. It's kind of crazy how people want to be ignorant on the mining, or they just don't. I don't want to say want to be ignorant. Like it's just funny when people can't put two and two together. You see what I'm saying?
Overlook it, and it is mission critical, buddy. It's really important. Fucking important, but I'm gonna have to like do some research on that. We could get into that Next time I gotta hop
All right,
off,
cool.
but dude, this has been a blast, man. We covered a lot today, bro, in just one episode. I feel like we
Try to build up the American.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, we went in. We went in. You know how it is, bro. That's how we do.
went in, bro. We covered crypto, to a little Ray Dalio, finished off strong with the stock. So it's just your average day, covering multi-trillion-dollar industries. That's what we do over here.
Money making money, man. You know, the interest compounds, and the pennies always double on this side.
Penny doubles, baby.
So
Shout out Philadelphia real quick.
the penny is doubling, bro, and it's just financial IQ, right? Like, also, like, just shout out building a financial IQ, family. That's our main. That's our main thing. I did, he did talk about natural disasters as well. So my hearts do go out for the people that are still experiencing natural disasters and the fires that are still going on, and the wars and genocides that are still going on in Sudan and other places. My heart goes out. We praying for you. And the real part about it is, like, we all got to get financially free so we don't have to be dependent on people who don't have our best interests at heart. And that's what it boils down to at the end of the day. We got to make lemonades when life gives us lemons.
Time to make that lemonade, baby.
For real. That Alex lemonade, that sweet lemonade. But I appreciate you too, bro. Enjoy the rest of your day. Everybody, thanks for tapping in. We appreciate y'all for your time and your viewership.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate you, Balan. Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate you as well, brother.
Of course. Love you, bro. Peace.
Love you, dog.